only one thing to say to you.
Okay, fine, maybe I do. Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Quazar49 and my goodness, do I have a headache. You see, in case you hadn't considered it, being the owner and creator and only developer of a virtual theme park is pretty tiring. Don't get me wrong, I love to play Vision Park with all of the customers that come to visit, but as you play, you begin to notice a lot of similarities with questions, and obviously frequent players will notice them as well. And one of those questions that I always get is, what's your favourite ride? To which I always have to answer, So seeing as I was asked this last week, I've decided to finally put an end to this looming question you all have, by answering it in separate categories. Purely because I like all of the rides at Vision Park. All of them are different and hold a special place in my heart. Except for the waltzer. I'm telling you, that thing is evil! Because I worked hard on them all. Sometimes for more than a week. So welcome to a video that's going to confuse you more than that loop on Mr. Smiley. My top 3 favourite rides at Vision Park. Disclaimer!
None of these are better or more my favourite rides than others. Number 3 isn't less my favourite than number 1, it's just so that I can finally narrow this list down a bit. And unlike you, I can't enjoy the ride in the same way, because I know the ins and outs of it. Therefore, the rides on this list are going to be judged by how much fun I had making them, and what I'm most proud of.
Without further ado, number 3, the final hour. As it's kind of a big presence in the park, how could I not put this on the list? Sitting at the very centre of the park, looking down on everybody, is the Final Hour Hotel, a dust and rust-infested shell of a building that stands derelict beyond repair, luring customers in with promise of discovery and fame that they shall never come to meet. Each of these 3 rides on this list have something different that stands out, whether it's theming, mechanics, or otherwise, and for Final Hour the biggest outstanding quality for me is the sound design, which is certainly my favourite part of making any ride. The hotel moans at you as you step into its dark and depressed lobby. Fading colours scar the walls as you make your way into the pre-show room, where loud thunder greets you as a madman's laugh echoes down the hallways. Overall, I'm just really proud of how it turned out. I wanted every bit of the hotel to have a dark ambient track that suited the environment you were in, so that meant putting together a soundtrack that would later become the longest I have ever made. Over 30 minutes of audio, just for one ride. And not to mention all the timed sound effects, which can't even be 1 second off. You know that hallway scene? All one track. Which is why the Final Hour Hotel comes at number 3 on this list, for sound design. Number 2, Free Fall Tap. Jeremy! Jeremy, if you do this again, I swear to Christ! Number 2, Enigma. Yes, the cult favourite of the coasters, as I like to call it, with its distinctly dark premise and futuristic station, has been thrilling riders for several months now. Can you believe it only opened in April? How time flies. But anyway, yes, I've always liked to think of Enigma as the cult coaster, a coaster for adventurers who explore deeper into the park and are met with a pleasant surprise. A ride for those who are brave enough to stray away from the group and plunge straight into pitch black darkness via an almost vertical drop. I would sound like a broken record if I just say sound design is my favourite aspect of every ride, because technically it is, so just keep that in mind for the rest of the list, but as I have to say something different for each one, I'll go with ambience. Overall, this could also factor into theming, so call it what you will, but there's no doubt that Enigma is possibly the best place for immersion in the park. If you want to get sucked into the story of a ride and/or roleplay as a staff member, then Enigma is the ride for you. On its own, the design of the launch area and repair bay are some of the most detailed places in the whole park. Details have to be scaled back in the park to make sure everybody can play it, and so that all of the rides and attractions can all be in one game. But with Enigma, I kind of decided to break one of my most important rules, because, let's face it, it's so cool! Look at this, there's robots and awesome posters everywhere, and then there's like 10 times more neon, which is always good, because, you know, I mean neon. And then there's like this awesome bit where he has to take control, and he goes, "Hold tight, crow!" And then you go over these airtime hills, and then you go outside into space, and then you can see it, and then there's like another launch, and then the aliens are all like, "Blah!" And then there's this thing that looks extremely similar to something else, and then you go down this other drop, like, whoosh! And then your neck snaps on that corner, because it's like really, really tight, and then there's an explosion, like, and then there's a robot, and then these brakes, and then the robot lady voice that goes, have a good day at Vision Park. It's freaking cool! So, yeah, Enigma is number 2 for immersiveness. And finally, number 1. Guess. Go on, guess. Right here, right now, at this very moment, I want you to guess what I'm about to say. And don't just think it, I need you to say it out loud. Or pause the video and type it in the comments. Go ahead, I'll give you a second. Okay? Good? Good. So, let's find out if you were right. My third favourite ride is the Asylum. Sorry guys, but it had to be one of these two, and I'm afraid nostalgia for this one just kicked in a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I'm insanely proud of Mr. Smiley. The sounds and effects are nicely timed, in my opinion, the track layout is simply insane, and the overall backstory is one of the darkest I've ever had the enjoyment of writing. But I would be an absolute idiot not to put the Asylum on my top 3, as it's technically the first ride built at the park. Oh yeah, didn't you know? The Asylum was the first ride I ever built, even before the majority of the park was finished for the alpha testing, which is the reason why it made the list. Nostalgia and overall development. I am not kidding when I say that the Asylum has been through more updates than any other ride in the park. It was the most fun to make, the most fun to update, and continues to be thrilling new riders that go through it. The Asylum has now been recognised as the main place that I hang around when online at the park. In between running around, regenning rides, or engaging with people, if I get the opportunity for a break, I'll be at the Asylum. The overall inside captures the trashiness of the seaside funfair and theme park ghost trains with just a slightly higher budget. The sound design is detailed with all of the animatronics making sounds that you'd expect, such as the sound of pistons activating and so on. There's almost no rest from beginning to the end in terms of scares, and it's genuinely enjoyable to see some players going on it over and over again because they like it so much, and some are even too terrified to step on the platform. So those are my 3 favourite rides at Vision Park. Remember, I love all of the rides equally, because they're all very different from one another. But to finally answer this question for those that want to know, I can now direct them here to where I talk about some of my favourites in more detail. Speaking of which, why don't you let me know what your favourites are? No limit if you want to do a full top 10 paragraph in the comments. I really want to hear your opinion. Ooh, and by the way, something new is coming up towards the end of a video every month. From now on, I'll be picking an Employee of the Month, based on whichever staff members I see doing their best at the park. All you have to do is be in the fan club and have the staff or scare actor pass. Check it out! And the Employee of the Month this month is... Gigantic Monsters Out 1, for scaring the heck out of everybody in amusement. By the way, I have 20 other names to get through, so please be patient. Okay, I think that was good. Jeremy, do you want to go to the diner or something? Maybe grab some...